"Mister, can you be our daddy?" The words came out of nowhere, soft, innocent, but sharp enough to stop the whole world around me. I looked up from the counter, confused, and there they were. My two little troublemakers standing by the milk shelf, smiling at a stranger as if they'd just found treasure. Before I could move, my son added, "Please? We don't have one." The man froze. The milk slipped from his hand and burst on the floor with a heavy thud. For a heartbeat, the whole shop went silent. No hum from the freezer, no chatter from customers. Just that cold pause before everything inside me began to shake. "Kids," my voice cracked. "Come here right now." They turned, giggling, tiny shoes squeaking on the tiles, completely unaware that they had just opened a door I had spent years locking shut. Then he turned too. And the instant our eyes met, my blood went cold. It was him. The man who left a scar I could never heal. The man I had loved for one reckless night and hated ever since. The man who didn't even know he had two children staring right at him. His brows knit together, confusion shadowing his face. "You," his voice was deep, almost rough. "Do I know you?" I gripped the counter until my knuckles turned white. "No, sir. Just another customer." He didn't look convinced. His gaze moved slowly over me, searching, remembering, and I could feel the weight of it burning through every layer of the life I'd built without him. "Kids," I whispered, forcing a smile. "Go help Aunt May in the back, okay? Papa will be there soon." "But Papa." "Now." They obeyed, still curious, peeking at the stranger as they disappeared behind the curtain. When I looked back, the man was still standing there, milk dripping around his boots. "I'm sorry," I muttered, grabbing a mop. "They talk too much sometimes." He didn't move. "What's your name?" My chest tightened. "Why?" "Because," he paused, eyes narrowing. "You look like someone I used to know." I forced a laugh that tasted like metal. "You must mistake me for someone else." "Maybe," he said slowly. "But you smell like him too." That made my breath hitch. I turned away, pretending to wipe the counter, pretending I wasn't shaking. He stepped closer, the air between us heavy with something that hadn't died. "What's your name?" he asked again. I met his eyes. I said, "You've got the wrong person." His jaw tensed. "Right." He set cash on the counter, grabbed a new carton of milk, and headed for the door. Just before leaving, he looked back. "Tell your kids," his tone softened. "They should be careful who they call daddy." Then he was gone. The bell above the door rang, then silence swallowed the sound. I stood there, heart racing, staring at the spilled milk as if it were blood. After years of hiding, pretending, moving from one small town to another, fate had just thrown me face to face with the man I'd tried to erase. My name is Aiden Vale, and 5 years ago I made the biggest mistake of my life. The club smelled of smoke and spilled dreams the night I met him. Back then I was a bartender, serving drinks to people who wanted to forget. I was one of them, really, working double shifts, paying rent late, pretending I wasn't lonely. The place was loud, cheap, and alive. The kind of bar where alphas came to hunt and omegas came to disappear. And in the middle of that noise, he walked in. Leon Hale. Even under dim lights, he didn't belong there. Too clean, too controlled, eyes like storm clouds about to break. When he moved, the crowd seemed to bend around him. I tried not to stare. The last thing I needed was trouble wrapped in a perfect suit. But his gaze found me, and it didn't leave. Hours passed. I poured drinks, laughed at jokes I didn't hear, and every time I looked up, he was still there. Same seat, same untouched glass of whiskey. When the bar emptied near closing, I asked, "You're not drinking?" He lifted the glass slightly. "I don't drink alone." I smirked, tired. "Then you came to the wrong place." "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe I was waiting for someone." That voice, steady, deep, felt like it could slice right through my walls. I told myself to walk away, but curiosity is a dangerous thing for an omega who's forgotten how to feel wanted. By the time the last song faded, he was still there. "You really waited?" I asked, clocking out. He nodded. I said I would. "You don't even know me." "Then let me fix that." We ended up outside under the flickering streetlight, the city humming softly around us. He told me his name, that he ran a company downtown. I told him mine, that I was just trying to survive. He said he came there because sometimes he needed a place where no one knew who he was. Something in that truth pulled me closer than any flirtation could. We talked until words ran dry. Then he kissed me. It wasn't soft, it was desperate, almost angry, as if touching me was the only way he could breathe. I should have stopped him. I didn't. For one night, I let myself believe I was more than a distraction. When morning came, he was gone. No note, no number. only the faint scent of cedar and regret on my pillow. I tried to be angry, but mostly I was empty. Days blurred into weeks. Then came the sickness. The doctor's gentle voice. The word that changed everything. Pregnant. I remember laughing, a broken sound that didn't belong to me. It wasn't supposed to happen. I had been careful. But life never asked for permission. I never tried to find him. What would I say? Hi, remember that night you wanted to forget? You left 2 hearts behind. So I disappeared. Found a quieter town, a smaller life, a job at a grocery store where no one asked about the past. And I raised my twins with every piece of strength I had left. I thought the past had finally stopped chasing me. Until today. The next morning the store was quieter than usual, but I couldn't focus. Every sound made me flinch. The bell at the door, the hum of the refrigerator, even the whisper of the broom brushing across the tiles. Every sound made me think of him. Leon Hale. The man whose name I'd buried like a curse. I told myself he wouldn't come back. Why would he? He didn't recognize me, not really. And even if he had no reason to. But when the bell above the door chimed again around noon, my heart stopped. He was back. He walked in like the place belonged to him. Tall, calm, that same faint scent of cedar that used to cling to my skin. This time he wasn't wearing a suit. Just a simple black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, veins trailing down strong forearms. He looked human. Too human. Morning, he said, voice low. I forced a smile. Forgot something yesterday? He didn't answer. He just set a loaf of bread and a bottle of water on the counter and looked at me. Really looked. You're new here, he asked. Been here about 3 years, I said carefully. His gaze flicked around the store, then back to me. Strange. I come here often. Never seen you before. I shrugged, pretending to sort receipts. I mostly work mornings. Maybe you're a night person. Maybe, he said softly. Then, after a pause, your kids are twins, right? My hands froze midair. He smiled faintly. They look just like each other. Cute. Thank you. I managed to whisper, throat tight. He tilted his head slightly. How old are they? 4, I said before I could stop myself. He nodded slowly, eyes drifting away for a second, doing the math. My chest squeezed so hard I almost couldn't breathe. Please don't. Please don't put it together. He looked at me again, voice calm but heavy. 4, huh? That must be around the time I left the city. The world tilted. I swallowed hard, forcing a laugh that sounded brittle. Coincidence, right? He didn't laugh. Maybe. He paid, picked up the bag, and turned to leave, but then he stopped halfway to the door. Do they know who their father is? He asked without turning around. The air left my lungs. That's none of your business. He turned then, slow and deliberate, his eyes burning through me. Maybe it is. My fingers trembled on the counter. Look, I don't know what you're trying to do, but… I'm not trying anything, he interrupted quietly. I just can't stop thinking about what your little boy said yesterday. My heart pounded louder than my thoughts. He took a step closer, voice low. He looked straight at me and said I should be their daddy. I said nothing. Leon studied my face, the faintest tremor running through his jaw. Do you believe in fate, Aiden? The sound of my name in his mouth shattered me. He knew. Somehow he knew. I looked down, trying to hide the tears that burned behind my eyes. You should go, I whispered. I tried, he said. But something tells me I shouldn't. He left the bag on the counter and walked toward the door. Before stepping out, he looked back again. The same way he had 5 years ago, just before vanishing from my life. Maybe I was wrong back then, he murmured. Maybe I shouldn't have left. Then he was gone again. That night, after closing, I sat alone behind the counter. The store was dark except for the streetlight spilling through the window. I couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd said my name. About the way his eyes softened when he saw the twins. I'd dreamed of this moment so many times. What I'd say, how I'd curse him, how I'd tell him he didn't deserve to know them. But all I'd felt today was fear. Fear that he'd take them away. Fear that he'd look at me with the same regret he'd left me with. Fear that he'd still have power over me after all these years. I thought I'd buried my heart the night he left. But seeing him again, it was like the dirt had never been deep enough. When I finally went home, the twins were asleep, curled together on the couch under a blanket. My son's hand was clutching his sister's, both their little faces peaceful, untouched by the chaos I carried. I knelt beside them and brushed their hair away, whispering, "You don't need a daddy. You have me." But my voice broke halfway through. Because even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. The next few days, Leon kept coming back. Always at the same hour. Always with some excuse: milk, bread, coffee. Sometimes he'd talk to the kids, ask their names, laugh at their stories. And I'd stand there, frozen behind the counter, watching the past reach for my present. He didn't push. He didn't demand. But the way he looked at them, like he was already claiming them in his mind, terrified me. One evening, when the store was empty, he approached me again. "They look like me," he said quietly. "Especially the boy." My throat went dry. Coincidence. He smiled, but it wasn't cold this time. It was sad. "You never were a good liar, Aiden." I turned away. "It doesn't matter. You're not part of this." He stepped closer, his voice low and firm. "They're mine, aren't they?" The words sliced through the air like glass. I couldn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence was enough. He exhaled, long and slow, like a man who'd just been punched. "Why didn't you tell me?" I bit my lip until I tasted blood. "Because you left, Leon. You walked away before the sun even came up. You made it clear what I was to you." He flinched but didn't argue. "You think that means I wouldn't have cared? You didn't then." He stared at me, chest rising and falling fast. "Aiden, I didn't know how to stay." The pain in his voice almost broke me. Almost. I shook my head. "Well, it's too late now." He didn't move. His eyes glistened in the dim light, full of something raw and dangerous: guilt, regret, maybe even love. And then the bell above the door jingled. "Papa!" the twins yelled, running toward me with their usual energy. Leon turned, and for a moment, everything froze. The children between us, the truth heavy in the air. My daughter smiled up at him. "Hi again, mister." Leon bent down slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hey, sweetheart." She giggled. "Papa said you're not our daddy." Leon's eyes lifted to mine, and there it was, the storm I'd been dreading. He looked back at her gently. Maybe he's wrong. The words hit me like lightning. "Leon," I whispered, warning in my tone. But he didn't back down. He looked at me the way he had that first night, like he was about to do something reckless, something that would change everything. "Maybe it's time," he said softly. "We find out the truth." The bell chimed again as the wind rushed in, and I realized in that instant. The quiet life I'd built was about to shatter. The wind howled outside as the door slammed shut behind Leon. For a moment, I stood frozen, the echo of his words still lingering in the air. Maybe it's time we find out the truth. The twins didn't understand, of course. They just giggled, tugging at my apron, asking for candy. But my heart wouldn't stop pounding, because I knew what he meant, and I knew what would happen if he found out the truth. After I put the twins to bed that night, I sat by the window, staring into the street. The city was quiet, but my mind wasn't. Every memory I had of Leon kept replaying like an old movie I couldn't turn off. The night we met. The way his hand trembled when he touched my face. The sound of his voice when he said my name for the first time, like it meant something. And then, the silence that followed when he left without looking back. He wasn't supposed to come back into my life. He wasn't supposed to see them. But fate clearly had other plans. The next morning, he came again. I saw his car parked outside before I even opened the store. Sleek. Black. The kind of car that didn't belong in this quiet neighborhood. He stepped out wearing a gray coat and sunglasses, looking like he belonged to another world, one I no longer wanted to be part of. "Morning," he said, like nothing had happened. I folded my arms. "What are you doing here?" "Buying milk," he said simply. "You already bought milk 3 times this week." He smirked faintly. "Then maybe I'm buying time." I glared at him. "You can't just show up here, Leon." "My kids." "Our kids," he said quietly. The words hit me like a slap. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't call them that." He took off his sunglasses, eyes steady. "Why not? You think I don't see it? They look like me, Aiden." The boy even frowns the same way I used to. "That doesn't mean anything." "It means everything," he shot back. "You've been hiding them from me." I felt my throat close up. "You don't get to say that. You left, Leon. You left without a word. You don't get to come back and claim them like you've been here all along." He exhaled, pain flickering in his eyes. "I know. I messed up. I didn't even know how bad until yesterday." Silence hung between us. He looked down, voice softer now. "Let me see them. Please." I shook my head. "You've seen enough." He took a step closer, and I felt my pulse jump. Even after all these years, his presence still felt too close, too warm, too dangerous. "I just want to know them," he murmured. "I'm not asking to take them away." You think it's that simple? He looked at me, something raw flashing across his face. Maybe it should be. I turned away, my hands trembling. You're not staying. He didn't move. Then tell me to leave, and mean it. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But when I opened my mouth, no sound came out. Because deep down, part of me wanted him to stay. That night, after I locked up, I found him waiting outside by my car. Leon, I groaned. Are you following me now? He leaned against the hood, arms crossed. Just making sure you get home safe. I don't need your protection. He smiled faintly. Maybe not, but old habits die hard. Old habits. I scoffed. We spent one night together. That doesn't make it a habit. His expression darkened. Don't pretend it was nothing. My chest tightened. It was everything, and that's the problem. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The street was quiet except for the low hum of the city. Finally, he whispered, Aiden, I'm not leaving again. Not until I know the truth. I met his eyes. You wouldn't like it. He smiled faintly. Try me. The following days were a blur of tension. Leon kept coming. Sometimes just to buy something, sometimes to talk to the twins, sometimes just to stand at the counter while I pretended not to notice the way his eyes softened every time they laughed. He didn't push anymore. He just stayed. Quiet. Patient. Dangerous. The twins adored him instantly. To them, he was just the milkman who brought them candy and listened to their stories. Papa, my son said one afternoon, can the nice man come for dinner? My stomach twisted. No, sweetheart. He's busy. Leon chuckled softly. I can make time. Leon, I warned, but he just smiled, that same old smile that used to break me. By the end of the week, I gave in. Fine, I muttered as he stood at the counter one evening. Dinner. One time. That's it. His brows lifted slightly. Really? Don't look so surprised. It's not a date. He grinned. I'll take what I can get. That night, my small apartment smelled like noodles and burnt sauce. The twins were running around, showing Leon their toys, while I tried not to watch the way he smiled at them. He looked happy. Too happy for someone who'd once sworn he didn't want a family. After dinner, when the twins were asleep, he helped me clean up. Our hands brushed when we reached for the same plate. The air grew heavy instantly. Careful, I murmured. You'll make a mess. He smiled faintly. You still say that when you're nervous. I'm not nervous. Liar. His voice was low now, closer than it should have been. I stepped back, but he followed, eyes locked on mine. Leon. He reached out, brushing his thumb against my jaw. You haven't changed. I froze. You shouldn't be doing this. He smiled softly. Then stopped me. But I didn't. The years we'd lost hung between us. All the things we didn't say, the pain we never faced. And then, before I could think, his lips brushed mine. It was soft. Gentle. But it burned like fire. For a moment, I let myself feel it. The warmth, the ache, the part of me that had missed him more than I wanted to admit. Then I pulled away. Don't, I whispered, my voice shaking. Don't make me fall for you again. He looked at me with those storm-gray eyes that once ruined me. Maybe you never stopped. The days that followed were chaos. He kept showing up, helping with the kids, fixing things around the apartment, making breakfast like he belonged here. And somehow, the walls I'd built started to crack. The twins loved him more every day. My daughter drew him pictures. My son called him Daddy by accident once. And Leon just smiled like his heart had been set free. I wanted to hate him. But every time I saw him with them, it got harder to remember why I should. Until one afternoon, everything shattered. It started with a phone call. Leon had gone to pick up the twins from school. I was at the store when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. Mr. Aiden, a woman's voice said. This is Mrs. Grant from the school. The children were picked up by a man earlier. Said he was their father. My heart stopped. He what? Yes, he showed ID and everything. Said his name was Leon Hale. I dropped the phone. The world tilted. No, he wouldn't. He promised. I grabbed my keys and ran out into the street, heart pounding so hard I couldn't breathe. When I reached home, the door was open, and there they were. Leon stood in the living room, holding both kids, smiling gently as they showed him a drawing. He looked up when he saw me, eyes calm, too calm. What the hell were you thinking? I shouted. He frowned. Aiden, relax. I just picked them up. You took them without telling me. I didn't take them. I brought them home. They're not your kids. I yelled, voice cracking. He flinched, but didn't let go of them. They are, he said quietly. And you know it. The room went silent. Even the twins sensed the tension. Leon's eyes glistened with something raw, anger, hurt, love. Aiden, he said softly. I know what I lost once. I'm not losing them too. I stared at him, tears burning behind my eyes. You don't have the right. He stepped closer, voice breaking. Then give it to me. And in that moment, as the kids hugged his legs, calling him daddy, I realized something I never wanted to admit. He wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. And the scariest part? A small part of me didn't want him to. Leon was still holding the twins when I froze at the door. The way they clung to him, smiling, so small and innocent. It broke me in a way I didn't expect. He looked up at me, his gray eyes calm but unreadable. You're shaking, he said quietly. Because you scared me, I snapped. You can't just take them. They're my life, Leon. You can't. I know, he interrupted. His voice trembled slightly. But they're mine too, Aiden. I can't keep pretending they're not. The words hung between us. Heavy, unforgiving. My son tugged at his sleeve. Daddy, are you mad at Papa? I closed my eyes, heart cracking. That single word, Daddy, shattered what was left of my defenses. Leon crouched down, hugging the twins gently. No, sweetheart. Daddies don't get mad at Papas. When he looked back up at me, his eyes glistened. We need to talk, he said softly. We talked after the twins went to bed. I sat on the couch, hands clasped tight. Leon stood near the window, silent, as the streetlights painted his face in fragments of gold and shadow. I didn't mean to take them, he said finally. I just needed to feel what it's like to hold them. To know I didn't lose everything. You left, I whispered. You had your chance. I didn't know, Aiden. His voice cracked. You think I'd walk away if I knew you were carrying our children? I looked up sharply. And what would you have done? Married me? Hidden me away from your perfect life. His jaw tightened. You don't know what I would have done. You're right, I said bitterly. Because you were gone before I could find out. Silence again. Only the sound of the city breathing through the open window. He turned, eyes burning. You think I had a choice? My father, he found out about you. About us. I had to leave, Aiden. He threatened to destroy you. I blinked. Your father? Leon nodded slowly. He controls everything. The company. My name. My life. He said if I didn't end it, he'd make sure you disappeared. I laughed weakly, disbelief twisting inside me. So you just walked away? I thought I was protecting you. The force in his voice made me flinch. For a long moment, we just stared at each other, two ghosts caught between past and present. Then he said softer, I came back because I couldn't keep pretending anymore. And because I want to be their father, for real this time. The next day, he didn't come to the store. I told myself it was for the best. But when the bell above the door stayed silent, the world felt quieter too. For the first time in years, I missed him. Not the memory of him, the man himself. By evening, I found an envelope on my doorstep. No name, just my address in careful handwriting. Inside was a photograph, Leon standing outside a huge glass building, surrounded by reporters. And a note. He's not who you think he is. Keep your children away before it's too late. No signature. Just a logo at the bottom, Hale Enterprises. My blood ran cold. That night, Leon called. His voice was strained. Aiden, we need to talk. It's important. What's going on? He hesitated. My father knows. Knows what? That you're alive. And about the twins. I gripped the phone tighter. How? I don't know. But he sent someone to watch you. I saw the photos on his desk. I felt dizzy. What does he want? Control, Leon said quietly. He always wants control. Hours later, headlights flashed outside. A black car parked across the street. I froze by the window as two men in suits stepped out. Leon's words echoed in my mind. He sent someone to watch you. I rushed to the kids' room. They were asleep, their small chests rising and falling softly. I stood there, trembling, wondering what to do. Then a knock came at the door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Who is it? I called, my voice shaking. No answer. Another knock, louder this time. I backed away, heart racing. Then a familiar voice said, It's me, Leon. I opened the door instantly and gasped. He looked like he'd been running for his life. His coat was half torn, his face scratched. Aiden, pack a bag, he said, breathless. We need to go. Now. What? Why? My father's men are here. They want the kids. I stared at him, disbelief flooding through me. Leon, this is insane. I'm serious, he hissed. He found out about them. He thinks they're a threat to the family's inheritance. The twins stirred in their room. What are you talking about? I whispered. They're children. He doesn't care. He sees them as a scandal waiting to explode. My stomach twisted. Leon. He grabbed my shoulders, eyes desperate. Please. Trust me this time. I looked into his face, bruised, terrified, real. And I knew he wasn't lying. We left through the back door, carrying only what we could grab, a bag of clothes, a few photos, and the twins still half asleep in our arms. Leon's car was parked 2 blocks away. When we got in, he started driving fast, headlights slicing through the darkness. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere safe, he muttered. A friend owes me a favor. The twins murmured softly in the back seat, unaware of the chaos swallowing our lives. I stared out the window, heart aching. This isn't how I wanted them to live. He glanced at me. I'll fix it. I swear. I shook my head. You can't fix everything, Leon. His grip tightened on the wheel. Watch me. We stopped hours later at a cabin hidden deep in the woods. Leon carried the twins inside, laid them on a couch, and then collapsed in a chair, exhausted. For the first time that night, the silence felt almost peaceful. I sat across from him. So what now? He exhaled, rubbing his temples. Now we wait. My father won't stop until he finds us. But I'm not letting him touch them. You shouldn't have come back, I whispered. You brought this danger with you. He looked up sharply. You think I regret finding you? I think you regret the consequences. He stood, crossing the space between us in 2 strides. His voice dropped. I regret losing you. I looked away, heart pounding. Don't. He took my hand gently. You've been fighting alone for too long. Let me fight with you. Outside, the forest was quiet, but something about the stillness felt wrong. Leon must have sensed it too. He glanced toward the window, eyes narrowing. Then came the sound, tires on gravel. We froze. Headlights flickered through the trees. Leon, I whispered. They found us. He turned, his expression shifting from fear to resolve. Take the twins, he said. Go to the back room. Lock the door. What about you? He smiled faintly. I'll handle them. I wanted to argue, but his tone left no room for protest. I gathered the twins, rushed to the back room, and locked the door. Through the thin walls, I heard muffled voices, men shouting, footsteps pounding. Then a gunshot. I flinched, pressing my hands over the twins' ears. Papa, my son whispered. Is Daddy okay? I forced a smile I didn't feel. He will be, baby. He will. Another shot. Then silence. The door handle rattled. I froze, heart in my throat. Then a voice, hoarse but alive. Aiden, it's me. I unlocked the door. Leon stood there, breathing hard, a bruise blooming, and as they pulled me away, I heard one of the officers say, He's still breathing. Get him to the ambulance. The next scene I remember was the hospital. White walls. The smell of antiseptic. The twins were with me, holding my hands. And then I saw him, lying there, pale but alive. When his eyes finally opened, I broke down. He smiled weakly. Hey, I whispered. You didn't leave. I couldn't. He reached for my hand. Then maybe we still have a chance. I smiled through tears. Maybe we do. He squeezed my hand gently. No more running? I shook my head. No more running. He smiled. Good. Because I'm done letting anyone else decide my life. Outside, the first light of dawn filled the room. And for the first time in years, I felt like we were finally free, or at least closer to it. But just as I leaned closer, his phone buzzed on the bedside table. One message. No sender. You really think it's over? My blood ran cold. And as Leon's hand tightened around mine, I knew. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.